everyone on this good day. It's Romania Black, and if you can believe it, we are on episode 12 of Cherry Magic. And I'm really sad about that. Now, I've been talking to people in the comments and in the last couple videos about the manga. I'm going to talk about that here in a hot second. But yeah, I'm sad that this is the end of the anime because the fact that this has been out for so long, I get the impression that this is not going to be a series that they do a season 2 for. I really wish that they would, but I just get that impression that this is like a manga bait BL, where they're like, "Oh, I gave you a season, now go off, you heathens, and read the manga. This is all you get," and that's really sad. So, but we actually have quite a bit going on today. We're not only watching episode 12, but we have 2 extra things that are going to be as well. So I want to real quick before we begin, thank 2 specific patrons. One is our moderator, BeHappy, Sunspots, whose comment I will read here shortly. Sunspots worked with BeHappy to get some insight. There is a movie, a recap movie that was put out, but I'm not going to react to it because BeHappy and Sunspots did some research and determined that there's really only one extra scene in the movie. And as much as I loathe recaps, but I make exceptions if there are bonus materials. One scene to recap an entire series we just watched? No. So what they did was they went and took out the extra scene and told me that after I'm done with episode 12, I can watch it, and that's what we're going to do today. So cool. Thank you. BeHappy. I hope it's a sexy time scene. I hope that they gave us a sexy time scene in the movie. That'd be really great. Please. And thank you. I'd really appreciate that. Please. But we'll see. And then BeHappy not only gave us that, but AnimeAnnie, or Annie Writer, who's on Discord, also compiled. There were a series of Chibi shorts, kind of like what Apothecary Diaries does and what some other series have done. And AnimeAnnie put together those shorts into a compilation, translated, put that all together. That is some insane work, y'all. That is some insane work. So snap your fingers, give a comment down below thanking AnimeAnnie for putting that together for us so that we can react to it and watch it together, right? So I don't know how that's going to work with the movie scene. I'm probably going to have the movie scene and the Chibi shorts. We're probably going to watch them together, and I'm going to splice the reaction into the link down below. I'll try to include some markers of when to watch if you want to skip ahead to those. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. Sometimes I'm notorious, I forget to do that. So, but I will put it all in the same link so you don't have to click multiple links. There'll be the episode reaction and then the movie extra scene and then the Chibi shorts. We'll put them all together into one reaction thing and then y'all can watch it. So that'll be it. And then we'll talk about each of them. So yeah. So we'll see how that goes. But speaking of which, we're going to go through some comments for episodes 9, episode 10. Any extra comments that I get from episodes 11 and 12 that I find, I'll include when we do the manga reactions. But Sayuri says for episode 9, I don't really like the translation of Minato's thoughts in this episode because it's more like he says, quote, he is reliable, kind of like a dad, or something like that, rather than he's like he could be my dad, which does change the meaning a bit. I agree with that. I think that the he's reliable like a father is different than he's like my dad. There is a difference there. So I'm glad that Sayuri, you point that out. Although, daddy kink unlocked for Suge. Could we blame him? Rose Jennison for episode 10 says, maybe Suge, being a writer, was part of the problem with his interaction with Minato. I write as a hobby, and sometimes I find myself wording things in real life in a more literary way, if that makes sense. Maybe he got so used to writing scenes where he used dialogue that built up suspense before reveal that he accidentally started doing it for real. I'm assuming that's with the ulterior motives line, and I totally agree. I think him being a writer made him choose that turn of phrase, and Minato's just like, what? But yeah, I totally get that. I feel like, sometimes you get so caught up in what you do that it bleeds over into real life. So thank you, Rose, for pointing that out. And then Sunspot says, I would definitely be here for a manga reaction review in the future if you decide to go that route. Or the Japanese live action, which I loved. I've not seen the Thai live action version, but thinking I'll pick it up after these reactions are done. I love that this series is so good. It has multiple reactions. It's giving me Modao Zushi vibes. I'm here for that. That's amazing. I told Sunspots that I'm going to be doing the manga reactions. I think I'm going to do 1 volume a month. I haven't decided if I'm going to start from volume 1 or recap the volumes that this anime covered. I'm going to do a little research on my own for that one and then get back to y'all. Y'all will see. I'd like to have a manga reaction in August since, we're finishing these reactions up in July on Patreon. I'd like by the end of August to have a manga reaction up. We'll see where that goes. But in any case, I told Sunspots I probably will not be reacting to the live action adaptations only because I don't know. Now, Mai, I'm watching Word of Honor, which is amazing, but I've not seen the source material for that yet. So, but the Untamed, which was Modazushi, that one's really good. But I don't know. I've seen a few off live action BL things, and they're just not as spicy and into it as the anime or the manga is. So I'm like, I don't really want to watch a watered down version. And I feel like some of those are when they're live action. They won't push the envelope like an animated series or the manga will. Now, the Mai, I'm not saying that they're spicier by any means because they have censors, but it's almost because they have censors, they kind of find creative ways to go around it, and it's interesting. So I just haven't seen that with Japanese live action, but who knows? Maybe I'm missing out. You all will probably let me know. But I think if I do watch the live action, it'll be on my own time and we'll just kind of go from there. But yeah, so I'm excited. Now, last time we ended episode 11 with Minato and Suge still have some work to do. They still got some work to do, but there was a potential spice between Adachi and Kurosawa. So now we got to see where that goes. And I'm really excited to go from there. So we've got a lot to cover in this week, so we're not going to waste any more time. But thank you all so much for joining me to watch Cherry Magic. I have waited to see this series for years, 4 actual years, and I'm so glad that I finally gotten to it. It's brought me a lot of joy. So anyway, I'm really excited. I hope you all are as well. But we have shorts and we have an extra scene to get to, so we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive into Cherry Magic's ultimate season finale episode. Not the penultimate, but the actual one. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. This series is so precious. I just want to eat it up and devour it. It's so good. Oh. So those Chibi shorts were absolutely precious. Thank you, AnimeAnnie, for taking the hard work and time to put that together. The one of Kurosawa being in Adachi's body and he just stands in front of the mirror and he's says, Yoichi, just says his first name. That was so freaking precious. That was worth it alone. That was worth the reaction alone, just to see that moment was so freaking cute. And I'm surprised. The ending scene for the movie was just them walking on the beach. Now, granted, the kiss in the sand, top tier, and them saying I love you to each other, top tier. But there has to be some cutting and trimming to get to the end of this episode, because for us to go from them having the rings and getting engaged to just getting married like it was nothing, I was like, we sped run through Fujisaki being like, I wonder if anyone's noticed that they have their rings and they're together, to them standing outside the chapel and everybody being with tears in their eyes. I'm like, where was the in-between moments? So here's my theory, because I went online before getting on here. I was like, okay, where does the anime end? Where does the manga pick up? And I was trying not to read too much into it because obviously I don't want spoilers, but some people were like, there was one post that I saw that said, technically it's around chapter 36, around volume 6, but their post said 5, 6, and 7, you might want to read together because things get kind of spliced and whatever. So I'm thinking of the idea of I could read volumes 1 through 5 off screen and just read volumes 1 through 5 and kind of do like what I do with Natsume's Book of Friends and what I've done with Uramichi Onisan and that, and read those to catch up, and then read volume 6 with you all and go from there. I think, because I think there's like 14 or 15 volumes of this out so far and it's still ongoing. So if I did that, does that seem like it would work to read volumes 1 through 5 off screen in my own time? I don't know if I'll be able to get to that in August. I've got a lot of stuff planned for August, but I could try. And then maybe, if anything, by end of August, have like volume 6 as the reaction. And then we just go from there. Does that seem fine? Does that seem, or would you rather I read volumes 1 through 4 and then start with volume 5? Or would you want me to start from the beginning and just read one volume at a time? You tell me down below. You tell me what you think would work best down below, and I'll ask the moderators and we'll just go from there. But yeah, I definitely want to read the manga because I was like, I want to see all this stuff that I'm pretty sure they cut to the end with them getting married to wrap everything up so that we wouldn't get a second season, which, whatever, it's still ongoing. You could have more to talk about. It's just, I talked about it in the ED credits that Daokusei is here. And if you can't see it where I'm standing now, but Blanc is the last volume closest to the end of the shelf there. It is the biggest volume and leads to a significant life event. And there's so much, as Adachi says at the end of the series, it's just the beginning for them. Them getting together, getting engaged, all that. That's just the start of their relationship. Him losing his powers is just the beginning. So yeah, we'll talk about that, but I can't believe that they didn't give us, I guess, look, it's personal taste, personal preferences. I'm a girl that, like, has sat through Mignon, which is pretty graphic, and has read lots of BL where there's, like, sexy time scenes. This is very tame. This is very tame. This is gateway BL. This is gateway BL. If you're like, oh, I'm not ready to see the spiciness, or I don't want to see that, here you go. This is your gateway series. This is like Sasaki and Miyano levels, I guess. But they're adults, damn it! Sasaki and Miyano, I'm fine not seeing like spiciness because they're teenagers. In that series, that's a great BL series, but in that series, they are literally high school students. I don't need to see that. No, thank you. But these are full-grown men that are in their 30s. Come on, show. Give me some spiciness because they're in their 30s. Come on. We can handle it. Maybe the manga will give us that. Don't spoil me. Maybe the manga will give us some spicy scenes. Maybe it's extended in the manga. They can't show it in the anime, but even if it's not, that's just me personally wanting to get some spiciness between them. I do appreciate that we get what we get in this episode, and so they did it. Now, what did it entails? Because, in a heterosexual relationship, having sex is pretty much just like, it's intercourse. So I think it is. So it's pretty much just like, you threw your hot dog through the hula hoop. There we go. But with a same-sex relationship, one thing that's kind of interesting about BL and GL to me is that the idea of having sex is a bit more complex and layered, and there's more kind of interpretations of what counts as being completely intimate to the highest level. And I think that's fascinating because it kind of gets into the idea of the relationship and what defines us. What do we define as, what's the furthest we take this relationship to? And I think it's interesting. But I again, Adachi wondered if he'd lose the powers if he had sex with him. The fact that he could hear all of Kurosawa's thoughts, oh my gosh, is absolutely wild. I cannot imagine. I am glad in episode 11 that they did not show us his thoughts in the last episode. They let it be really silent. I thought that was really good. But yeah, he's like, I didn't think that I would get over this anxiousness, but now, even if we're apart, we'll be okay. I love it. They also had Kurosawa's body on full display, his hunkiness, right? Because he has been working out to, be attractive to Adachi. He is such a romantic. I love that Kurosawa is like this big, emotional, romantic man who's like looks perfect and everything, and Adachi is the more practical, like toned down, like, oh, whoa, I'm not as romantic as you are, but okay. And then he's like, you're awfully aggressive in the morning. He's like, no, no, not like that. No. And then he's lost his power. Kurosawa saying, I must be in heaven because I was woken up by an angel. Oh my God, with your marshmallow cheeks. He's like, yep, that's on point. I can't hear your thoughts anymore. So then he goes into an existential crisis mode while Kurosawa gets dressed and gets their coffee ready. And he's like, is it because I slept with Kurosawa? And then he's like, I thought I became a wizard because I was still a virgin when I turned 30. Also, Kurosawa walking by with that damn, like, abs that you could, like, shave ice on. But he says, I thought I became a wizard because I was still a virgin when I turned 30. But, and he's like, was I wrong? Is my definition of virginity wrong? So, what all did they do? Pardon my language, but I need to be clinical. Did they have anal sex? Did they just jerk each other off naked? Did they just, were we just like, what? The way he talks, he's like, did I get it wrong? And I was like, okay. But then I'm like, or was it something else? And so for a second I was like, what did they do? Or did they just sleep together and make out and, get naked time? I think, we'll talk about it in a hot second. I think it's hilarious that Kurosawa walks up to him with the coffee. It reminded me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where the one character's like, I'm freaking out. And Charlie goes, here, quit freaking out. Have another cup of coffee. like the caffeine's going to make you calm down. But oddly enough, on the other hand, I'm someone that would be freaking out until I had my morning coffee. So I can kind of relate. And he's like, have you calmed down? He's like, yeah, I'm sorry I got confused. I just didn't think I'd suddenly lose my magical powers. And I like how Kurosawa says, the ability to read minds is amazing. You got to hear my ulterior motives. You got to see my jealousy, all my wild fantasies, and he's like, and you still loved me despite seeing those dirty and stupid parts of me, which honestly, in a relationship, at the end of the day, you're going to have to see those dirty and stupid parts of someone to fully be able to be with them. So they kind of did, using Adachi's powers, they kind of run through the hard parts of getting to know someone in a relationship. The hard part is, admitting you poop around each other. That's honestly the big thing is when you start dating someone, you only want them to see like the good side of you because you're afraid they're going to leave you if they see like the stupid and dirty parts. But then eventually that's going to have to come out or you're not going to be able to maintain that relationship. So I like that, he's like, I'm grateful to your power because it allowed you to like stick with me. When he set that cup of coffee on the bed, I was convinced it was going to crumble. I was convinced it was going to like spill all over the comforter. I was absolutely convinced it was going to happen. But it wasn't your magic power that touched my heart. It was your words. I love that Kurosawa goes back to that moment on the bench because for him, he's like, your magic powers had nothing to do with me falling in love with you. It may have allowed you to see that I wasn't this perfect person, this paragon that was, unreachable. I'm glad it helped you realize that. He's like, but I fell in love with you long before, like when you were just a kind person and used your words to comfort me. He's like, that's when I fell in love with you. I'm just glad your magic powers allowed you to see that I did have feelings for you. And then he's like, do you regret sleeping with me? And God, and she's like, nope, not one bit. He's like, I do not regret that at all. He's like, I fell so deeply in love with you that I couldn't express it in words. But until now, I was afraid of knowing what you were thinking when I wasn't touching you. But now, if I get anxious, I'll use my words. Or they won't for a time when they were having the moment on the phone, but we'll get to that scene. I know we can touch and be touched to confirm how we feel. I figured it out. It's because I felt like I'd be okay with you even without my powers. I think that makes more sense, right? He lost the ability because he was able to realize that he didn't need it to be with Kurosawa. Now the pressure falls on Suge to be like, can I be with Minato without the powers? My thing is, I was a little bit bummed that we didn't get a lot with Minato and Suge in this episode, but I get it. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more of them in the manga, so I'm excited about that. I think Suge's big struggle is not, I think Suge's struggle is not going to to be okay without his powers around Minato. I think he'll be okay in the end. I think the struggle, and this is just my opinion, we'll see if it happens in the manga. I think the struggle is going to be for Minato to accept that Suge had the powers and use them on him without telling him. Because Kurosawa was so down. See, here's the thing. Kurosawa and Suge are the ones who are in insane love with the partner, right? Suge and Kurosawa are the ones with the unrequited insane love. And so Kurosawa, hearing that Adachi had telepathic powers, he was like, oh, I'm down. Great. No problem. All about it. And I think that if Minato had the psychic powers and used them on Suge, Suge would be the same as Kurosawa and be like, nope, down, cool, awesome, tell me about him so I can write about him in my novels. But the shoe is on the other foot. And Adachi did say, he's like, if someone used those powers on me without my consent, I'd be really creeped out. And I feel like Minato is kind of like Adachi in that fact. So I think the struggle for Suge and Minato is going to be when it comes out that he had the psychic powers and he used them on Minato. Is Minato going to be okay with that, or is he going to be creeped out? And where do you go from there? So that's where I think it's going to get interesting. But we didn't really get into that in this episode, so now I have to wait for the manga to see what happens. And for Kurosawa, that's a killer pickup line. For him getting like the tears in his eyes. Oh my God, Kurosawa is amazing. And he's like, you're more charming than me. Honestly, kind of. Like, Kurosawa is emotional and he's very romantic, but he's not, for all intents and purposes, Kurosawa is not really a charming guy. He's just hot. And he kind of like, you know, people in the office kind of chided him about it one time, but Adachi is a charming person. He's just very innocent, right? So I thought that was such an interesting little reveal there. He's like, you know, you made me desperate and I've embarrassed myself plenty. When I'm around you, I'm incapable of being perfect. But for some reason, I don't hate that version of myself. I think he doesn't hate that version of himself because Adachi likes that version of him. I think Adachi's shown him, he's like, but I like that side of you, so it's okay. He's like, I think I'd go crazy if I fell even more in love with you. He's like, please don't get more crazy. And then Adachi taking the little robe sleeve to wipe away his tears. That was so sweet. I loved that so much. And then, damn, Kurosawa was down for round 2. And then Adachi's like, what if we hugged it out instead? He really wanted to go another round, but he was going to miss his flight otherwise. So that sucks. I feel his pain. He's like, I don't want to leave. Aw. But yeah. And he's like, he's eroding my determination to stay here and start up the company. So y'all were probably, in watching episode 11, y'all were probably like, bitch, he's gonna be there more than just 10 days. Everybody was really nice in the comments. Everybody was super nice in the comments and weren't like, girl, you've misunderstood. He's gonna be more than 10 days. 10 days is just the initial, like, getting to know the place. That all makes sense now, and now the scene in episode 9 makes even more sense because it was really Kurosawa saying like, but you're going there for 10 days to check the place out, but then if you take the offer, you're going to be there like, you know, for at the most a year, but at least a couple months. So that makes a lot more sense. That is, you know, I wanted to see more of that, and I hope the manga has more chapters of them apart while he's in Nagasaki. I also thought that Kusumoto was going to be possibly like a little wedge that would try to wedge in their relationship, but no, he was just insanely helpful. He was just insanely helpful. I thought he was going to be the Karen to Jim Halpert and Pam, but he ends up not being at all. He's just like, I'm actually grew up here and I know the scene and all that. I would love more Kusumoto. He was a really cool side character and I want more of him in this series. So we'll see if we get any of that in the manga. But what I do like is the realism of how Adachi was so gung-ho and he's like, I want to take this offer. It's a good opportunity. It's a promotion. I was inspired while I was here. And then once he gets into it, it wasn't just easy street for him. I liked the realism that Adachi did have to work and he did struggle in the startup branch. I just wanted more of that. You could have had a whole episode about him in the startup branch. You really could have, but Mm-mm. I also love the apron that Kurosawa wears, and then they have their little matching couples aprons. The gays and their matching couples things. Joking. But yeah, he's like, I think I'm going to accept the transfer. And I love they talk it out. He's like, it's a chance for us to be inspired. The idea of me getting to build something from nothing got me excited. And he's like, well, then yeah, you'll be fine. Also, I was thinking about this as they were talking it out. I'm like, this is very convenient because, and then it ended up happening. I was like, it's very convenient because he can move out of the apartment, go do the transfer. And then when he comes back, he's like, well, instead of moving back into my apartment, I could just move in with Kurosawa. And that just, I'm glad that actually came to fruition because I'm like, oh, yes, that's the logical choice. That's what you would do. I didn't expect that Kurosawa was going to propose to him in this episode. I thought we were just going to have them agreeing to move back in together and that was going to be like the height of it. And then we'd go from there in the manga. But we like sped run into this. I was like, huh. I do appreciate the idea of them like missing each other while they're gone and all this and doing all of that. But again, Daokusei, one of my favorite BLs, what I love about that series so much is that it gives us scenarios like this, but then it breaks it down and shows like the hardship. It shows what both the characters have to go through. They have like a lot of stuff going on in that series behind the scenes. So they have to deal with that personally and together. It's such a good manga about interpersonal communication in relationships. And I love it. Right. So, poor Kurosawa could not help Adachi move because he was busy at work, so Suge had to help him. And Suge finds out that Adachi no longer has his abilities anymore. And I like that Suge's like, I don't want to know how you don't have them. I won't ask for details, but I'm happy for you. I was like, maybe you should ask for details because I have a feeling that you and Minato are going to be going through the exact same thing in the future, so we'll see. But yeah, and then I love these, like, well, I lose my power someday too. Suge is so dramatic with his expressions as he's thinking that. I'm like, I want to see Suge lose his powers because I want to see how that happens with Minato. Y'all, I really want to see how that happens. So I'm hoping the manga will give us that. We'll see. But yeah, so Adachi runs into all his struggles and Kusumoto has like solutions to everything. I really thought that Kusumoto would be more of a wedge in their relationship and we'd get more of that, but the show did not seem fit to show us that if that's the case. And then poor Kurosawa, he's just behind the scenes being like, he's struggling, I've got to help him. And he was making himself sick in the process. I feel like him getting the cold was from him in the rain when he went to the hotel. I feel like that's what caused it, but we don't get confirmation of that. So what can we do? But I love these characters so much, and I want to see more of them. Like Rokaku, I feel like there's so much more you could do with Rokaku's character, and with Asahina. Asahina has an amazing voice actor. I want to see more of his character. The one guy that's friends with Rokaku and Minato that I'm crushing on, I want to see more of him. Fujisaki girl, you're living your life here. She had her AO3 draft pulled up, and she was like, while she's at work, being like, they have matching rings, they're getting married, oh my god, like, girl was living her life in this episode. Good for her. But yeah, I do also like the brief symbolism of showing us Adachi's hotel room and stuff, of showing us like him or the apartment that he's staying at, like it's in a little bit of disarray because he's been working so hard. He hasn't had a chance to clean it as much. I thought that was a good realistic thing. Also the fact that he's been eating out because he's not a cook. Kurosawa's the cook, but he has the pajamas that Kurosawa gave him. That was really, really cute. So yeah, Adachi doubts himself a little bit. And he's like, I need to pull myself together. But he's worried about Kurosawa. And both of them doing like Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala in Revenge of the Sith, staring out the window longingly at each other from a distance. Shut up. It was really funny. I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, this part here with the phones, I wanted to tell both of these bakas, be like, why are y'all not calling each other? Because their big thing is worrying about each other. And if they're not doing enough in the relationship, and if they need to do more, and I'm like, why don't you both call and talk to each other? And I don't know why they didn't. But maybe in the manga, there's more like development with that and growth with that, because, I know our Jin doesn't like to speak on the phone unless we have to, but you all just got done talking about vocalizing your anxieties to each other, and you're not doing it here. So I'm like, maybe call each other and vocalize your anxieties. And maybe it happens in the manga and they just cut it for time, but we'll see. And then, yeah, to go from them having this like confrontational like moment of Adachi being like, nobody knows about our relationship, it's unstable, to 10 minutes from now it being like them getting married and everything's stable. I was like, that was the one thing, is I know they were trying to wrap everything up in this episode, but I kind of wish they hadn't, because it feels like they skipped a lot just to get to this point. And I'm like, I kind of wish they would have just left it at Adachi moving back and like meeting Kurosawa at the door and the door opening up and being like, we're going to be together now. And then making us go read the manga to see what happens from there. I kind of wish they'd done that, but we'll just have to. But now this makes me want to read the manga so I can find out what I missed. So that was probably the objective too. So damn it, they manga baited me. I got manga baited. Damn it, I got manga baited for Cherry Magic. Should have known. Anyway, I do like that back-to-back shot where they're like, but what will we do? And it's like, well, you probably have like a makeup sex and really talk it out then, right? So yeah, I wanted more with Kusamoto. I wanted more of them on their car ride and everything. And I do like that Adachi is like, because of Rokaku's errors, it made him like a more diligent worker, which is really funny. And then whenever Kusamoto was like, oh, now that work's wrapped up, why don't we go drinking tonight? I thought that was going to lead to some trouble. I was fully prepared for it, but nope. He's like, I got things to do. I do like the parallel of you had Kurosawa leaving work and going straight to Nagasaki so that he could see Adachi, and now we have Adachi returning the favor. Like, I think that was really sweet. I liked that. I thought that was a good decision. And then they met in the spot where the confession happened, right? Because this is the spot where Kurosawa confessed to Adachi, isn't it? I think it is. Mm-hmm. He's like, I had to tell you something. And then they talk about how him being away from work made him anxious and he wanted to see it. And he's like, what should I do to alleviate this anxiety? We need something more concrete than just words or touches. So when I get back from Tokyo, I want to move in with you. Which I thought that's where the series was headed. And I thought that's where this episode was ending, with him just saying, like, let's live together. And then we were going to get like a little epilogue of Adachi coming back. And then that was going to be it. But no, in the final hour, which I do love Adachi giving him the forehead touch, like the forehead kiss. That callback to the beginning of the season when Kurosawa gave him the forehead kiss. That was adorable. That was so well done. I loved that. And then them having the hug. So cute. And then when they sit on the bench, she's like, well, I want to be with you from now on too. So this was the other thing. He pulls out the rings and it's okay. I'm not mad at it, but he pulls out these rings and I was expecting, like, I guess what I wanted was a proposal, if that's the case, because you end up having a wedding. So I wanted a proposal, like, for Adachi to, like, be standing there and Kurosawa to get down on one knee. Like, when Kurosawa, dropped down earlier in their conversation, I was like, is he going to propose? And then he didn't. And then they're on the park bench and he pulls the rings out. And I was like, there's no proposal? There's no, like, romantic swell of music? Like, I'm not going to give anything away about the series that I was thinking of and talked about during this reaction. But if you know, you know, in that series, the ring exchange has a big fanfare to it, and it feels very like this swell of emotion. You're like, and it's this big dramatic thing. And here he was just like, oh, you want to live with me? Cool. So rings? Like, that's literally how it went. I was like, it didn't feel in character for how romantic and over the top Kurosawa is. And it felt like it needed more preparation for the audience, because maybe he was trying to do the opposite. Whereas before he got the helicopter and like all this stuff and he was being like too much. And maybe he was like, I'm just going to be nonchalant and bring out the rings and be like, so engage. And maybe there was that, but I felt like we needed a little bit more for the audience to kind of get that. before it happens, so maybe I need to see it in the manga. Maybe I need to see it in the manga, and it will feel a little bit more organic, or it will flow better, right? Because then Adachi's just like, okay, and they just exchange the rings. Now the kissing of the rings. Bitch, yes, freaking loved. I was Fujisaki being like, oh my god. And then we cut to him leaving the new chain in Nagasaki. Has his beautiful yellow flowers, his gift, all of that, super cute. We get a little bit with Minato and Suge. I love the little detail of, well, one, Suge's shoes are purple, Minato's are yellow, so we have our nice little complementary colors. But also two other things. One, Minato's shoes having the wear and tear because he's weared them and danced with them. That's super cute. Also, Suge's feet are a lot bigger than Minato's. And you know what they say about guys with big feet? They have to get big socks. So I think Minato should take note so he can get Christmas gifts appropriately. Yeah, Udon is MVP of this series because Udon got Suge and Minato together. Super MVP. Whenever he rounded the corner with the bottles of water, I was like, Suge, I know you got your natural water there, but you don't got Evian. You ain't got Fiji. Thank God it's not Dasani, but that looks like generic water, sir. Get a filter and put it on tap if you're going to do that. I'm going to have a hard time about the water. I do love and he has the Trap Trick CDs. He has the Trap Trick CD. That's so cute. I love their like Mount Fuji themed inspired like outfit there. It's super cute. Love it. Love Minato in the middle there. It's great. So then, yeah, and Rokaku's like, hey, you guys want to get naked in the sauna again? Love. And Fujisaki, she's just like, ee! Girl's like written a 31 chapter, 400,000 word story at this point. Kuroada. She even gave them a couple's name. She calls them Kuroada. She's even gave them a couple's name. She's like, they're so precious, I can't breathe. Girl, I would feel the same. It's not my business what people do in the office, but I would feel the same. So I get it. And then, yeah, they have the little matching aprons that have their first name. Okay, but here's the thing, right? So, what is Kurosawa? What is his name in Cherry Magic? What is his first name? It's Yuichi Kurosawa, right? Oh, so when he was ever in the mini short, he had Adachi say his name, and that's what got him all excited. Okay, that makes more sense. And then Adachi's is Kiyoshi. So, yeah, the K and the Y. I thought for a second they had exchanged aprons, which would have been adorable. But yeah, and then you have him teaching him how to, like, cook and everything. That's so cute. And they have the little apartment together. That's adorable. It says Adachi and Kurosawa. This last minute was so rushed. I wanted more. Because there's Kusumoto is there at the wedding. And there's, like, Suge and Minato. They're there as well. Fujisaki is, like, crying. There's Rokaku. There's the sister. There's Asahina. I need more preface and build-up, y'all. Because this is so adorable. And they look great. But I need more. I need more. I need more. Y'all, this was so good. But we were manga baited. So I don't feel sad about reaching the end of this series. The series was wonderful. Like I said, I am so glad y'all got me to read this series to watch it. I'm so glad you're getting me to read it. But I'm so glad y'all got me to watch this series because I know Cherry Magic, the live action, has been recommended to me a lot over the years. And I kept being like, I don't know. Maybe I'll get to the manga. Maybe I'll get to the live action. I didn't really want to react to the live action BL. It was just, Given has a BL, which I did years ago, like a 10-minute under 10. I have like a playlist of 10 under 10, which is like I did some 10-minute breakdowns. They're really short. But I watched the live action Given, and it was okay. It's fine, but it's not as good as the anime or manga in my opinion. So after watching that, I was like, I don't really want to watch live action BL. I don't know. Now, to be fair, that for anime live action adaptations, I don't know if I'm very receptive to them right now. Danmai, Chinese BL, Danmai, like Word of Honor and Untamed, oh, watch them. Please watch them. They are amazing. And they're so good. And they do yearning in a way that makes you you will maybe have a hand fetish by the time you're done watching these Chinese Danmai live action, because it just the way they get by the censors with the yearning is just top tier. But I just didn't know if I wanted to watch the live action Cherry Magic, and I kept wrestling with it. And then when they announced they were going to do an anime, I was like, okay, I will wait till the anime comes out, and if the anime is any good, I will hopefully be able to react to that if folks are like, sure thing. And then it worked out, so I'm glad that it did. And now, hopefully I'll be able to do like a volume a month of Cherry Magic that will carry us into Janu Yaoi. If anything, it will carry us into Janu Yaoi, so that's exciting, and beyond. So I definitely would love to hear your opinions about where you think I should start, how you think I should do the manga reactions. I'm going to ask Discord, I'm going to ask the moderators, I'm going to ask their professional opinions, but I'm always curious to know people's thoughts down below. Obviously, I don't want spoilers. I don't want to know what's been cut out or what's been added, because I'm going to read the manga, so I'm going to find out. Don't worry. But I cannot thank you all so much or enough into joining me. I am watching another BL on my channel on Sundays. It is a horror BL, and it is so freaking amazing. So if you're not watching The Summer Hikaru Died, get on my channel and check it out. Insane. So good, but very different from this. So I will be back this coming month with the manga in some capacity. I will talk about it in my August update video for 2025. But I want to thank you all so much for joining me in watching Cherry Magic. This series has been so much fun, and I just can't stop. I've got to read the manga. It's got to happen. So we'll see how, in what order and how that happens. We'll see, but it's going to happen. So anyway, in any case, next week I am going to be taking a break before starting the new series, but don't worry. I have actually a little short reaction scheduled that involves aliens on a stage. So you have to check that out then. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Thank you so much, BeHappy, for the extra scene for the movie, and for Sunspots for helping them. Thank you so much, AnimeAnnie, for working hard to get those Chibi shorts. I love them. I'm going to cherish them. And in the meantime, I'll be back real soon with some more Cherry Magic. Bye!